Everybody, this is Dustin, the pastor over here at Grace Chapel, and this is another week, another devotional, and this week is from a passage we covered in our family devotional, and it's in the book of Exodus, and it is specifically it's Moses and the burning bush is where we're at, and in Exodus chapter 3 and 4. But as we're reading through these two chapters, we typically do a chapter at a time, and we're getting to this point where Moses is speaking with God. God is manifested. The angel of the Lord is manifested in the burning bush, and then God is speaking to Moses, and God is telling Moses that He's going to send him to Pharaoh. And that God is going to use Moses to lead His people out of Egypt. And what is Moses' response to that? Well, Moses' response is a lot of questions, and such as in Exodus chapter 3 verse 11, where he says, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" And so God responds to that, and He says, "I will certainly be with you, and this shall be a sign to you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain." And for most of us, you would think that maybe that should suffice, that God is telling him these things. But then Moses' response again is with another question. He says, "Indeed, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them, 'The God of your fathers has sent me to you,' and they say to me, 'What is His name?' What shall I say to them?" Well, fair enough. He wants to know, well, who do I say sent me? And God's response to that is, "I am who I am." And He says, "Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, 'I am has sent me to you.'" And then God goes on and He tells Moses some of these miraculous things that are going to happen, how God is going to use him, and these miraculous signs that are about to take place in Egypt. And as you get into Exodus 4, at the beginning in verse 1, you see where Moses says, "But suppose that they will not believe me or listen to my voice. Suppose they say the Lord has not appeared to you." And so the excuses are continuing, the buts or the what ifs, right? The questioning. And so this is at this point where God turns Moses' staff to a snake and the back to a staff, and He turns His hand, makes His hand covered in leprosy as He puts it into His cloak, and then heals him. And so God is showing them these different things, and He says, that these are some of that God is going to use Moses in mighty ways, and God is proving to him over and over His power. And then you get into verse 10, and this is where I really wanted to get to for our sake, because Moses is continuing, it seems, to try to get out of this. And in verse 10 it says, "Then Moses said to the Lord, 'O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue.'" So more excuses. And it says, "So the Lord said to him, 'Who has made man's mouth, or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have I not I, the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say.' But he said, 'O my Lord, please send by the hand of whomever else you may send.'" And so at this point, Moses is, he keeps questioning God and trying to get out of God's calling to send him to Egypt to lead God's people of Israel out of the land of Egypt, break the bondage of oppression. And Moses is continuously just refuting God and saying, well, what if this? Well, what if that? Oh, what if this? And God is constantly answering him. And and to the point of saying, well, I'm just slow of speech and slow of tongue. So essentially, I'm not one of eloquent speech. I can't even speak. And God says, am I not the one that has created all these people? Am I not the one who has created the mute, the deaf, the seeing, and the blind? Have I not I the Lord? And so you see where God is continuously dealing with them. And then finally Moses, because God has always got an answer for him, and he says, oh, please just send by the hand of whomever else you may send. Send somebody else. Don't send me. And this angers God. And so it leads to God saying, well, your brother Aaron, he's coming up, and I'm going to use him, right? This is me paraphrasing it, but God said, I'm going to use Aaron. I will use Aaron to speak. You'll tell him what to do or what to say, and he'll say it. But this is what stood out to me, and as I'm going through this, or at least what comes to mind for me that I want to share with you is, how often do we make excuses like Moses does in why we don't serve God wholeheartedly? And, how often do we leave things up to other people in hopes that God will send somebody else to do what he's calling us to do? He may not be sending us into Egypt to lead the to deliver Israel from the Egyptians. However, there may be something very specific that God is calling you to do. And he's not going to change his mind in that, no matter how much we plead with him. We could grieve him. We could anger him by continuously making excuses. But what he desires from us is us to be wholly devoted to him and his calling that he has on our lives. And for us we should be joyful that he wants to use us. We should desire to be used by God, and it's how God sees fit, not the way we see fit. And I've heard these from many different people, and I'm thinking specifically like with Moses, well, I'm not eloquent of speech, or I'm slow of tongue, or I can't speak to other people. I'm no good when it comes to that. And that's essentially what I feel like I'm hearing when, that people are saying that thing. But, as God told Moses, is he not the one that's created people? Has he not created the deaf and the mute and the slow of speech, all these different people? And can he not give you the words to speak if you were just to lean on him? And so what I would like, what I hope that you gain from this is what excuses, or number one, I hope that you reflect on this and ask yourself, what excuses am I making that are hindering me from my calling that God has on my life? And, what do I have to do to make it right? And I would say this: if you recognize that you are making excuses and that you are hindering your walk in your calling, and that you are not wholly devoted to the Lord and what he's asking you to do, that this is the time to repent from that, to turn from it, confess that fault and turn from it and turn back to the Lord and go and do what he is calling you to do. It's never too late. There's work to be done, and he needs the laborers. And you very well may be the one that he is calling to go and do something very specific. And so hopefully you find some encouragement in this, and until next week, I pray that the Lord is with you and that he uses you, and just know that whatever it is that he is calling you to do, that he will strengthen you for it, he will equip you for it, and that he will be with you. God bless.